Hey everyone, Jeff Abramo with the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Thanks for joining us today for our monthly check-in with our friends from the Fraud Watch Network Helpline. I'm joined by Mark Fedoroff. Mark, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Now, folks, I warn you, we've had so many little tech hiccups in the last 10 minutes, so bear with us if suddenly things start to get a little funky, but hopefully we can make it through without any issues. Before we get started with Mark, what I'd love to do is I'd love to know where our viewers are watching us from today. I know that we're streaming live to a number of state pages within AARP on Facebook. We also are streaming to our national page as well. So feel free to put a comment below here. Just let us know where you're watching us from today. And throughout, feel free to ask along any questions you may have by just posting them in that comment box as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Mark, I'd like to ask every month sort of a very big overview, very big broad question. What's new? What are you hearing generally, I guess, at the helpline?
Yeah, we're hearing tons of different types of scams, and it's just a constant kind of slew of the different types of scams. I would say that kind of the non-social media related scams that we continue to hear are around unemployment fraud. And so people filing for unemployment in other people's name. We continue to hear about Social Security imposter scams. That is a super common one, and it continues to get people. I just talked to someone yesterday who dealt with that scam. Also, sweepstakes, prize and lottery scams we continue to hear about, as well as just lots of scams involving identity theft and people being a little bit too open with their personal and financial information. So just things to be on the lookout for. I will say one really great resource on identity theft issues is identitytheft.gov. It's the FTC's website for solving different issues related to identity theft. There's also lots of great prevention steps on that website as well.
Outstanding. We're getting some folks commenting on their location here. We have a viewer, Nubia is watching us from Chicago. Sandy is watching us from Honolulu, and Drexler, I apologize, but I cannot pronounce that. Nay Linog, I don't know where that is, but I think it's great you're watching us from there. So hope that you'll stay tuned. Mark, I wanted to ask a question. So I think last month or the month before, I had made the comment that maybe, just maybe, this would have been the last call I had to ask the question about what you're hearing around COVID and COVID scams. Unfortunately, I think that I'm going to have to keep asking it a little bit longer because it seems like the pandemic is going to be with us for a bit longer. Anything new you're hearing at all? I know that I saw a report, not from you guys, but online about the rising industry of fake vaccine cards. I'm not sure if that's something you're hearing anything about.
Yeah, so we have not been receiving a lot of reports about the fake vaccination cards, but just anecdotally, I have seen some news reports. I have seen that some of these types of scams are also bubbling up on social media as well. So when you're looking at your Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, there might be some places where scammers might be trying to sell different types of fake vaccination cards. So just be really on the lookout for those. We expect that as different types of entities and organizations and locations are asking for people to have proof of vaccination, there might be a bigger market for those types of scams. So just be on the lookout for those. Hopefully people aren't resorting to that and they're just going to go ahead and get the vaccination instead. But understand that there probably will be a market for that, and hopefully people aren't resorting to that.
Absolutely. And certainly COVID scams are something we're going to pay attention to. I think during the course of the pandemic, as the pandemic has moved into different phases, I think the scams certainly have followed.
Definitely. And, really the number one COVID related scam in my mind that has bubbled up over the last year and a half are those Amazon imposter scams. And they continue to be one of the most common scams that are reported to the fraud helpline. They're coming over text, over email, over phone. And so really be on the lookout for any types of contacts that you're not familiar with from Amazon, because it is probably the most common, in my mind, pandemic or COVID related scam that we've been hearing about, just because people are turning to Amazon for goods and services.
Thanks for that, Mark. I know that last year, the issue of fake unemployment scams related to the COVID benefits. That was big for a while. Has that backed off a little bit? Sort of after, I know a lot of people are probably discovering it when they were doing their taxes.
Yeah, no, it continues, and we continue to get reports about it as well. So, it's something to be on the lookout for. Definitely, if you get a notification from your state unemployment office, make sure that they know that there was a fraudulent claim in your name, and also take precautions. Visit identitytheft.gov. In the upper right-hand corner of that website, they have a portal just for unemployment-related fraud. So it's a great resource. It'll walk you through all the steps in terms of checking your annual credit report, putting fraud alerts and credit freezes as well.
Thanks, Mark. Folks, if you have any questions for Mark about anything that you're hearing or seeing, feel free to ask them by typing it below this video in the comments box. So you touched upon social media, Facebook scams earlier. Anything else you're seeing? I mean, you mentioned the sweepstakes. I don't know if government grants are a thing still nowadays.
I'll tell you that I can't do one of these calls. I feel like a broken record when we do these, but I can't do one of these events without talking about government grant scams, because they really have bubbled up over the last 6 months, year, and we really have to watch out for them. And so what happens is you receive notification from someone who you believe is your friend, but what happened is their profile was really being mimicked by an imposter who was pretending to be them and then befriending all of the people who are on their friends list. And then they tell you that they received some type of a fantastic government grant opportunity. All they had to do was pay a little bit of money, a couple $1,000s, to receive, upwards of $70,000 for different types of grant opportunities as well. So really watch out for any type of mimicked accounts that might be reaching out to you and telling you that they received some type of a grant. It's a total scam, but it is probably one of the top 3 scams that's being reported to our helpline over the last couple of months.
Thanks, Mark. We have a question from John Delorio, who's asking, how can I stop phone scams? I mean, there's a lot of directions you can go in that, but can you give him some general tips?
Yeah, I mean, phone scams are plaguing us all. I've probably received 3 or 4 this morning. I assume they're phone scams. I'm just not answering them, and they're not leaving messages, so I assume they're phone scams. But I would say, talk to your phone provider. Make sure you understand what types of services they have to at least warn you and or block different types of phone scams that are coming in. Also understand that there are different types of products out there, apps, different types of things that you can download on your phone that can help warn you or stop some of the scams that might be coming into your phone. So you can do a quick search, in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, and there are lots of free options in terms of call blocking and call warning that you can do as well. So I highly recommend investigating different options and also talking with your phone provider, because many phone providers right now are giving you different options that they have for getting rid of or warning you about scam calls that are coming in.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. I know more of these options are emerging sort of almost monthly. We're finding new technologies and hoping that more and more companies implement them. Got a comment here. Bill says he gets those grant offers from time to time, I guess on Facebook. I warn the sender about the scams. They never get back to me. Now, to your point, he may be warning a fake person, or he may be a cloned account. So that might be why.
Yeah, exactly. And when you get that type of an offer, I think it's really important that you let the person know through some other method aside from Facebook that they're being involved, that their profile is being involved in this type of a scam, because it's likely that they reached out to many of their contacts. And so one of the things that I would do is, especially if you have that person's actual email address or phone number, is let them know via that method. And it will hopefully, that person will be able to put out a warning to all of their different friends on Facebook that that's going on. Additionally, I would say go in the upper hand search bar and put in that person's name. You'll see 2 different profiles with their same profile picture. When you see that, go to the fake one. It's the one with no content on it, essentially, and maybe just a couple of friends, and report it through Facebook. And it's a really critical step that you can take to make sure that Facebook knows that profile is being mimicked and they can take it down.
Thanks for that, Mark. We have a comment from Mary. We'll show that here. Mary is asking if the Traced Act will do any good to helping to eliminate scam calls. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's a lot of controversy around it, and I don't necessarily want to comment directly on what might be going on. I think there's lots of privacy issues that are going on with that Traced Act. So I honestly don't know enough about all the ins and outs of it to comment on it directly. But I would say it's something that we can watch out for, and there might be some goods and bads as a part of it.
Yeah, I think that broadly, I could say, Mary, that it's kind of like that game of whack-a-mole, where it'd be great if it helps, but I suspect that the scammers will try to find another way. So thanks for that. So I did have one more question I wanted to ask you. It's a throwback to I think the last call, but certainly a lot of communications that we put out since the AARP security system scams, right? Folks calling saying they're from AARP security. Has that waned? Is that still happening? What should people be on the lookout for in regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, summertime scams often, one of the ones that we warn people about most are home security system scams that Jeff's talking about. And those different types of scams come in different ways. I think generally in the past, we'd seen them more as a door-to-door operation, which we still do get reports of. But also, there are scams that are coming in over the phone, and they're asking you for information about your security system, or asking you to switch your security system, or saying they're with AARP and they want to get you to buy into this home security system. I'd just be really wary about any of these unsolicited offers, and generally just ignore them. I think is the best way that you can avoid this type of a scam, because they really are out there. So if you are looking for home security system, do your shopping yourself, and don't wait for someone to contact you unsolicited. And also, if you get one of these people at your door, contact your home security provider instead of trusting whatever the person is saying at the door.
Excellent. Mark Federhoff from the AARP Fraud Watch Network Helpline. Thank you for joining me today for our monthly check-in.
Thanks, Jeff.
And thank you all for watching today. Be safe.